Politics, 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 politics. Yes.
Oh, welcome everybody. Welcome to the Politics show. My name is Justin Robert Young. Get your ass on in here. We got a ton to talk about. Thank you so much for being a part of this program for another week. One more thing I do want to bring up. Do me a fave. If you are not following me on Facebook, go ahead and do it now. Justin Robert Young is where I am on Facebook. Facebook.com/Justin Robert Young. You can friend me. I'm still a private page for now. But if you friend me, I will approve you. I approve everybody except for people that are obviously robots, because I'm racist against robots. But every weekday, I've been putting up my my headlines that I'm reading, headlines that I find interesting. Sometimes they are the basis of the Monday and Friday podcast, but on Tuesday and Thursday, when they are not the prep doc for this show or the prep doc for the other shows, they're just headlines that you get in your Facebook. So go ahead and check that out when you get a chance, because I think it's pretty cool, and I think it's about time that we had our own Facebook group. And I'm just trying to get a sense of what people would like in it and how to write it. But I think I got some ideas. I got some pretty cool ideas. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into things. So much going on, as there always is these days. Shout out to Nico. Nico, who did these days? Never mind. We can move on. Donald Trump. Hey, he's our president. What do you know about that, right? You thought he might not be, and then it turns out he was. He was the president of the United States, and he's been up to all sorts of shenanigans lately, including something rare. Something very rare for him. He just kind of took a big fat hairy L, and it wasn't because of other people. It wasn't because other people failed him. It wasn't because he didn't try hard enough. That dude kind of did what he normally did, and we just kind of lost. We have been covering this story kind of feverishly, so you know what I'm talking about. That is last night's Alabama special election runoff for the Republican primary. It pitted two candidates against each other, Luther Strange and Judge Roy Moore. This was a very odd race because it effectively was a mirror match. It was Donald Trump versus Donald Trump, in quotation marks. Donald Trump, the man, the president, had decided, I think it was after the healthcare debacle, the first one. He, I think, decided to kind of play a little bit more with the establishment. The idea that there needed to be, a little bit of cohesion. And one of the things that really came up was the idea that there was a problem down in Alabama, because Jeff Sessions, the former senator from Alabama, had left and left a seat, and so now there was a runoff for it. And on the Republican side, which has the advantage in Alabama, there was a wild insurgent candidate, and then there was kind of a more mainstream candidate. So Mitch McConnell reportedly goes to Donald Trump, and he's like, dude, you got to go down. You got to go down. You got to make this happen. You've got the magic touch. They love you in Alabama. If you tell people to vote for a candidate, they will vote for a candidate. And then Steve Bannon left the White House. And then Steve Bannon went back to Breitbart. And then Donald Trump became Amnesty Don when he looked like he was going to make a DACA deal with the Dems. Say that 10 times fast. And then we had the mirror match. Because Roy Moore and Breitbart were running the Donald Trump playbook. They were running the nationalist, America first. We're going to shake up Washington. We're an outsider. They even said, I watched a media appearance with Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon comes out, and by the way, get ready for media-fronted Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon is not going nowhere. Steve Bannon is a kingmaker now. Steve Bannon comes out in this dumb bomber jacket of his, and he's on Hannity, I believe. And he's like, I am here to support Donald Trump's policy. With the inherent idea being that Donald Trump either is backing the wrong guy because he is corrupted, listening to the wrong people, or stupid. So, last night happens, and turns out the polls are correct. There's no secret pocket of voters. Donald Trump, the man, gets thumped by Donald Trump, the idea. This is all happening in concert with the establishment push at the 11th hour to repeal Obamacare, falling short. And we have what we have, which is basically I mean, here, if you are liberal, this is what you need to pay attention to with this. You have now seen Donald Trump separated from his power. You have now seen what happens when Donald Trump runs afoul of Breitbart. What you should be rooting for with all of your heart is that Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer become best friends with Donald Trump. Maybe let me tell you about my best friend. That's what you want to be happening in all of their heads while they're hanging out with each other. Because the further that Donald Trump's base gets away from him, the more he is marginalized. Now, here's the bad side. Well, there's good side and then there's bad side. Let me go ahead with the bad side for everybody that is in the establishment of the GOP that is running for re-election in 2018. You are going to face challenges. Or you are going to kiss the ring of Steve Bannon. That's now the way things are going to go, because he does not give a shit about whether or not the Republicans keep majority. In fact, this is my theory. Go ahead, folks, gather around. Here is my theory. Listen to it, take it, bring it to your friends. You can be the guy that has this theory. I will issue this a temporary license to everybody that is listening right now. You can steal this theory. I believe that it is Steve Bannon's personal opinion that it doesn't matter if the Republicans hold the Senate in 2018. I don't think he cares if they have their lead in Congress dramatically slashed. And I don't think Donald Trump cares either. In fact, I would suspect that they would both prefer it. So when we are talking, and we will talk more about some signs that indeed
Just the way
might be real, that the Republicans lead in Congress
and quietly get swallowed by a wave.
in 2018, it could indeed
It gets swallowed by a wave.
And I think that Donald Trump and Steve Bannon would prefer it. Here's why. Let me say, why would they want less power? Why would they want to be totally boxed in? Here's why. It makes for a better 2020 campaign. It makes for a far better 2020 campaign. Because now he can say, yes, I haven't gotten shit done. And here's why. When I came into power, I had a bunch of limp dick establishment cockamamie weirdos that couldn't even pass. They've been talking. Imagine this. You can imagine this on stage, right? You can just hear it in his voice. They were talking. 7 years. Repeal and replace Obamacare. I give them the power. Nope. Can't do it. Can't change the rules. I had to get them out. I wanted to work with them. But they're nice guys. Mitch McConnell, nice guy. I wanted to work with them. Couldn't work with them. Now a lot of them lost their jobs. You want to know why? Because they lied to the people. That's why. Now, I'd prefer to have Republicans instead of Democrats, but I also would far prefer to have Republicans I can actually work with to get things done, that are actually going to get things done, which is why you need to bring me back in 2020 so I can then preside over the next midterm election and all the seats that are going to come up during that 2020 election, and I will be able to rule. Now, the Buck says crazy like a fox. I don't think that this is him being crazy like a fox or thinking 6 steps ahead. I just think that we're going to come up to a bunch of fairly kind of binary checkpoints along the road. And they can go one way or another. My point is that he either doesn't care or would prefer to be the person marginalized. Because we've already seen what's happening right now with him with all the power in the world, with control of both houses, right? It's not 12-step 3D chess. I think that it's a combination of a couple things. Number one, he's obviously still getting advised by Bannon because Trump realized he made a mistake backing Luther Strange. On Friday in Alabama at a rally for Luther Strange, Donald Trump gets up on stage and says, I might have made a mistake, which I'm sure the Luther Strange campaign was thrilled about. And then last night, when Roy Moore wins, Donald Trump starts deleting tweets about how he supports Luther Strange. He starts deleting tweets about how great Luther Strange is. So, I guess we also need to talk about what else he said on Friday. I already talked a little bit about it in the headline stuff. Man, this is kind of like the statues thing. It's like, we're talking about the NFL? The NFL? Not Obamacare, not taxes, not North Korea, not Puerto Rico. We're talking about Kaepernick, man. We're talking about Kneeling during the anthem, man. It shouldn't shock you that I found this to be a little stupid. Anybody who listens to this show will should know that. I mean, here's the thing. As of right now, it's a cultural issue that he is on the right side of poll-wise. More people in the country believe that doing anything during the national anthem is disrespectful than people who don't, right? And really, that's just part and parcel of a larger conversation which nobody is interested in having with each other. Because the left side doesn't want to have a conversation about, well, okay, I guess if you see it like that, that's where you can understand that you're offended, while the right side doesn't want to say, oh, wait, this isn't about just offending people. This is about this other larger issue. We would also like to talk about that issue, too. Nobody wants to have these conversations. So instead, Donald Trump just kind of exploits it and, comes out on stage. He gets all juiced up like he does when he's all fired up in front of the crowd. And he's like, oh, these sons of bitches. Don't you think? I mean, I guess we could play it. Do you guys want to play it? Do you guys want to play this clip? We can play this clip. I mean, God knows who the fuck hasn't heard this clip at this point. But imagine the stage. This is Donald Trump up there at a rally for a candidate that was going to lose within 72 hours, and Donald Trump would delete all of his tweets about that's how much he believed in him. When he winds up going off script. I don't think that this was in any pre-approved talking points.
Love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of a bitch off the field right now, out. He's fired. He's fired.
Now, what you can't hear is that Donald Trump, as soon as he says it and he realizes that he's getting a big reaction from it, he comes out to the back, like the back wings, like where his advisors and I guess local dignitaries and stuff are, and he just kind of gives them yeah, crushing it. I'm crushing it right now.
Some owner's going to do that. He's going to say, that guy that disrespects our flag, he's fired. And that owner, they don't know it. They don't know it. They're friends of mine, many of them. They don't know it. They'll be the most popular person for a week. They'll be the most popular person in this country, because that's a total disrespect of our heritage. That's a total disrespect of everything that we stand for, okay? Everything that we stand for. And I know we have freedoms, and we have freedom of choice and many, many different freedoms. But you know what?
We have many different freedoms. Many, many, many different freedoms. They're just many, I assume, are good freedoms.
It's still totally disrespectful. And when the NFL ratings are down massively, the NFL ratings are down massively. Now
what kind of? All right, let me just ask you a question here. I want to ask people a question. I just got a question I need to ask everybody. Okay, I have a question. I am fired up right now, folks. You got me fired up. This stupid thing got me all cheesed off. What kind of topsy-turvy world? Okay, what kind of bizarre, fun house mirror universe do we live in? Do we live in when The Republican is driving people away from the NFL. When the Republicans are driving people away from the NFL. And there was something actually that I saw that also got my goat. And this isn't even on my run sheet. I just got to find this. All right, so here we go. All right, we're gonna have to do this. All right, here we go. Well, welcome back. This is all right. So this is an actual a Rush Limbaugh transcript. Okay. All right. Here we go. This is Rush Limbaugh talking about how he did not watch the he did not watch the NFL this week. Oh, let me stop that. He goes, well, Snurdly, the mystique is gone. That actually started vanishing a while ago. A larger-than-life aspect of it is gone. The belief, the wish, the desire. Remember that word. The desire that the people in the game were the best and brightest and special. And that's why they were there. That's gone. And it's been politicized. Really? Really? That's where we're going to go, Rush. That's where we're going to go. That's where we're going to go with why the game is not larger than life anymore. That's where, because, I remember #old enough to remember. Old enough to remember that it was Rush Limbaugh who was hired by ESPN's morning show to be a part of their panel. And here's what his job was to do. That he was going to be the big brash voice. He was going to be the voice of the people. And every once in a while, whenever it was right when I think I don't know if this was the challenge flag. Whenever one of the panelists would say something that he wanted to get his hot take in on, he would there'd be a little graphic that would throw a flag on the field of play, quote unquote, and Rush Limbaugh would come out and give his topic. Now, he was sold to the people, to ESPN viewers, as being, listen, he's just a great talker and he loves the NFL. Sure, he's a conservative firebrand who has used his AM platform to shape the political landscape for, at that point, over a decade and a half. But here on ESPN, he's going to show a multifaceted side of himself. He is somebody that knows the game, is friends with the owners, and really, really, really wants to be a part of the sports dialogue. And that dude did not last. God, it had to be at least, it was a week or 2 weeks. Maybe it was his first day. When all of a sudden, he can't keep it in his pants. Oh my God, do we have the clip? Do we have the clip right here? Did Reverend Puck actually get us the clip? Let's go ahead and go to the videotape. All right, here we go. This is 2 weeks. 2 2 weeks. Let's go ahead. This is Rush Limbaugh in 2003, so 14 years ago. That now the game has been politicized. This is Rush Limbaugh 14 years ago not politicizing the NFL.
I've listened to all of you guys, actually, and I think the sum total of what you're all saying is that Donovan McNabb is regressing. He's going backwards. I'm sorry to say this, I don't think he's been that good from the get-go. I think what we've had here is a little social concern in the NFL. I think the media has been very desirous that a black quarterback do well.
I have forever used the term desirous because of this clip. The media is very desirous of a black quarterback doing well.
For instance, black coaches and black quarterbacks doing well. I think there is a...
Oh my God, I forgot about this. All right, I'm gonna link this in the show notes so everybody can see it if you're just listening to this. But the people on the panel are, I believe, Steve Young, Michael Irvin, and Tom Jackson. Tom Jackson is up here in the top right-hand corner. This is the Rush Challenge. And Tom Jackson is just looking like, what in the hot fuck are you talking about, man?
Little hope invested in McNabb, and he got a lot of credit for the performance of this team that he really didn't deserve. The defense, defense carried this team, I think.
Look at Michael Irvin. Michael Irvin's in the middle here. Please tell me this is Michael Irvin. I'm not being racist if it's not. This is a very low-quality video here.
Somebody went to those championship games. Somebody went to those Pro Bowls.
That's Rush Limbaugh. That's Rush Limbaugh not politicizing the game. 14 years ago. 14 years ago. It was Michael Irvin. By the way, that was a Michael Irvin that was far closer to the stabbing somebody in the neck with scissors Michael Irvin. He was far closer to the caught in a Dallas motel room with crack and hookers Michael Irvin. Rush is very, very lucky that Michael Irvin did not start shouting seniority and bury those scissors right in his neck like he did that O-lineman. So listen, Rush might as well be saying, I mean, Sturdley, I started this gangster shit, and this, Snurdly, it is the motherfucking thanks I get.
1059, The Cat.
Oh, and apparently Rush in April of this year said ESPN should hire him back. Because the problem is that sports has been politicized. Now, before the ditto heads email in, I'm sure what he's saying is that it's been politicized by the liberals. And so what you need, and what was needed back at 14 years ago, was for calm, sane voices of reason like Rush Limbaugh to really balance things out. By the way, I will always hold it against Rush Limbaugh because he came at my boy, Donovan McNabb. I'm sticking with Cuse, my Cuse people. Just like my sweet, sweet boy who's Green Acre and his wife, Carmelo Anthony, going out to Oklahoma City. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to root against my boy, Carmelo. So where are we at? I mean, this is a stupid, class warfare issue. And, whatever. I mean, it's just, what this has nothing to do with anything. Let's go ahead and move on. So we got Roy Moore winning in Alabama, but there was some news. We're not done talking about
Just the way.
and that's because the Dems have had a very faint kind of heartbeat that has really gotten blocked out by the fact that they went all nuts in on these crazy pants special elections in like the fucking Dakota territories in Georgia, where they thought that they were going to have Democrats beat Republicans in special elections, which is just bonkers, right? But one of the barometers that normally, is indicative of possible off-year election wave changes is the general mood of what a voter feels about both parties. And one of the ways that you can find that is who is winning state elections. Now, I know what you're thinking. That that I don't give a shit about state-run elections, right? I don't care. Exactly. That's why they're important, because nobody cares about state elections, about the state senate and shit like that, right? Nobody gives a fuck. So what tends to happen is the party and base that in general is just more activated at the time tends to start winning out. And of the last 5 state special elections that have happened nationwide, Democrats have won 4, including 2 last night. So you can read that as this is a good sign if you are a Democrat that you are going to do well in 2018. Specifically, if, as I have previously mentioned, we are in a situation where Donald Trump and Steve Bannon don't mind jackknifing the Republican majority. If they're like, fine, this is rad, I'm very excited to jackknife the Republican majority, then these are all good signs for Democrats. Good signs for Democrats. If relatively popular Republican senators are facing challenges from the right, and now they have to moderate themselves further to the right in an election where the Democratic base is more activated, you are doing good. These are good signs for you if you are a Democrat. If you are a Republican, then the next question that I have to ask you is, what kind of Republican are you? Because if you're an establishment Republican, or a Republican that is happy with the senators and congresspeople that are in Washington now, or at least as happy as you can be in general, and you are suspicious of the Breitbart Steve Bannon machine and the kind of people that they are putting into power, then you should be worried. Because it looks like your power might be eroding. But if you're an American First Nationalist that voted for Donald Trump and is very excited that Roy Moore beat Luther Strange last night, because Breitbart covered that election wall to wall. Oh, my God. Man, I read Breitbart every day because I cover politics, right? And in general, Breitbart is a mix of, radical Islamic terror. This is why, here's a picture of Paul Ryan wearing an earring in college, and this is how Donald Trump is great, or this is how the mainstream media fucked up, right? That's usually the buffet, the Breitbart buffet. But if Breitbart was indeed a buffet last week, it would have but one version of items, and that is Dreamland, Alabama barbecue. I am shocked that every single story on Breitbart last week didn't end with either Roll Tide or War Eagle. That's how inside Alabama they were. It was wall to wall. Every single story had something to do with why Luther Strange was a bag of shit and why Roy Moore was the only true patriot. It was really, really, really remarkable. Now, by the way, this is another element to this is that the establishment has kind of proven to be feckless, impotent, weird shit that does weird shit during the day. They have taken now 2 big swings at healthcare after having healthcare be, the big thing for 7 years. Repeal and replace, root and branch. They had one a shot at it, and John McCain torpedoed it. And then they took another shot with the Graham Cassidy bill. And that failed. By the way, officially, as of yesterday, they announced that it's on to taxes. No more Obamacare. Eventually, they'll get to Obamacare. They'll get to Obamacare after taxes. After taxes. We're going to do taxes first. And then, now that it's harder to get the votes, then we're going to pass it. We're going to pass it then. Don't worry. We're going to pass it then. Which I don't blame people for being skeptical about. Specifically when now there is this bipartisan push to fix and stabilize Obamacare. This is the problem with entitlements, and what conservatives will tell you is that the problem with anything that is a major federal entitlement is that you can't really take those back. I mean, there's a reason why the most aggressive version of their repeal and replace of Obamacare kept almost all of Obamacare's spending. They just changed how you spent it. That's why Rand Paul was not for it. Because he's like, listen, my problem is how much money we're spending. So it doesn't matter if you're doing it as the Obamacare state-funded markets, or you're just giving block grants, which, by the way, I had to look up what block grants were because I'm a professional political analyst. Block grants are basically just a bunch of money that you don't really have to have any rules on. It's literally just a blank check. It's like, or not a blank check, just a check, for like your grandma gives you for your birthday, except it's like $5 billion instead of $5, right? Zealous says, I want a block grant. I think we could all use a block grant here and again. So Rand Paul was like, listen, dude, you're just going to be spending the same amount of money. We need to be stopping spending this money. I don't know why I made Rand Paul Chris Tucker there. I don't know why these motherfuckers going to be spending this money, man. I'm Rand Paul. Don't you ever touch a Kentucky senator's spending appropriation, man. Are you listening to the words that are coming out of my mouth? This is my new character, Chris Tucker Rand Paul. Come to Flotsam Paradise. All right. It's Friday. You don't have any votes. We are going to get high on opposition. Rand Tucker. Is that it? Rand Tucker. This show is so fucking stupid. I love it. How about this? All right, here's another story. I don't want to start throwing around the K word. I really don't want to start. I don't want to start throwing around the K word. Is anybody else going to start throwing around the K word? Because I think a lot of people were really, really zealous to kind of bury Trump for the Harvey thing. They were real. They were very desirous. The media was very desirous to want to make Harvey Trump's Katrina. About like when he came to there and whether or not he visited with survivors and stuff like that. But in general, if you look at Donald Trump's approval ratings, which have been at fairly historic lows since he came into office, he actually ticked up with Harvey. People actually liked his. You guys are killing me with this Rand Tucker stuff. People just keep putting lines in the chat. This is Rand Paul to Graham and Cassidy. Your bill just got knocked the fuck out. Donald Trump did well with Harvey according to public opinion polls. So, no, that's not an opinion, that's a fact. He did well in public opinion polls with Irma. People seem to like how he handled both of those things. It seemed like things were getting done. The problem wasn't, lingering. Money was coming in, and it seemed like both places were on the mend. Florida very easily puts itself back together again because they are kind of budgeted for it. They understand that they have to guess that they are going to get hit by a major hurricane every single year, so people know how to handle it. Texas is not used to getting hurricanes and certainly not used to getting flooding that bad, but at least it's a massive state with a huge budget that can afford to kind of snap into a Slim Jim. So the question now is, how bad will Puerto Rico hurt him? Because Puerto Rico was hit worst of all of the three. They are indeed United States citizens, although they are a protectorate. And Puerto Rico is a problem a lot more like New Orleans than either Florida, anywhere in Florida, and Texas are. The problem with New Orleans, beyond the optics of how George W. Bush handled it, and Kanye West on a charity live show, was that New Orleans and Louisiana in general, as a city and a state, are, shall we say, not exactly the most competent. That's being kind. One might say that they are a bit corrupt and ass backwards. And if a bunch of money is flowing into the city, then you can be sure that a bunch will probably disappear before it gets to where it needs to go. Puerto Rico is not an area where the government is the most efficient. I think that's safe to say. They have driven themselves into just cataclysmic bankruptcy and have needed to be bailed out repeatedly. So I don't think that they used their money wisely. They had a crumbling infrastructure, and then they had a Category 5 hurricane ram right into them. They are devastated right now. There are estimations that Puerto Rico will be out of power for not days, not weeks, but months. Months, Puerto Rico will be out of power. Those are some of the estimations. I do not know enough to say whether or not this will have the kind of heat that Katrina had on Bush. The other thing with Katrina and Bush was that it came at a point where he was also very unpopular for other reasons. So it was easier for Katrina to kind of be a release valve for a lot of George W. Bush hate. This is still fairly early in Donald Trump's presidency, where Katrina was very late in Bush's. But I will say this. If Puerto Rico becomes increasingly cause célèbre, and there's nothing but awful, awful pictures for the next several months, and things aren't getting better, the foes of Donald Trump will not hesitate to pour the blame on him. Now, to be fair, Donald Trump is going down to Puerto Rico next week, so we will see how he handles that. But you're already seeing a lot of little things beginning to get pinned to him. And we will see exactly how much that will hit the poll the poll numbers that had already been ticking up for him because of how he handled the other hurricanes. You know, speaking of poll numbers, it might just right now be timed to get into our most popular segment. Ladies and gentlemen, I do announce to you that it is time. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully I've gotten the reverb a little bit better balanced, because go ahead and get into that rented limo, because we are taking data beyond the velvet rope and letting loose the carnal pleasures of surveys. Spritz that axe from the bathroom attendant. Break down those $60 bills into ones and pay attention to the demographics, because
Get on the floor if you got that booty.
this is the poll dance, 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 dance.
That booty.
This is a Suffolk poll for the governorship of New Jersey, taken from September 19th to September 23rd, with a 500 likely voter sample. The margin of error on this poll was 4.4%. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and welcome first to the stage. They are the successor to Chris Christie. They currently, according to this poll, have 25% of the electorate on their side. Can you please give a big poll dance welcome to Kim But now, let's welcome your headliner. They are the challenger and Democrat running for the governorship of New Jersey with 44% of the vote. Let's give a big poll dance welcome to Ladies and gentlemen, that is a 19-point spread for Murphy. Yeah, I mean, I guess the problem is Chris Christie, right? You know, it's just going to be hard. It's going to be hard when Chris Christie is polling at like, sub 2%. You know, it's going to be a little hard for him, for anybody in that party to run successfully. All right. Here we go. Let's go ahead and get into but your emails. If you want to email the show, go ahead and email in theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Again, theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Landry writes in, wow, Lance, does it feel to you that the Trump supporters are arguing for political correctness? How is sitting during the national anthem anything but politically incorrect speech? It just seems to me that I'm seeing the same old argument with the sides reversed. It is. That's exactly what's happening. Is we are constantly arguing for the right kind of speech. And in one hand, as long as you're not asking for things to be restricted by the government, as long as you're not asking for that, then it's just a bunch of hot air of what people think, Now, it is odd that there is one side of the argument that is branding themselves as the politically incorrect side, and that they don't care about what people think, and that's why they're going to say what needs to be said, when really the Colin Kaepernick side is saying the exact same thing, that they don't care what your delicate sensibilities are. They will risk offending you on the flag so they might bring this cause into the forefront. Tom writes in, one question I have on the whole ACA healthcare bill nonsense. Isn't it likely that even though the newest version of Trump Care is passed, won't it be changed again in the next administration? Or just imagine if it is passed, won't it be changed again the next time a Democrat is in office? It feels like this is one of those things that will keep changing based on the party in charge until either somebody else takes precedence or until there truly is a bipartisan agreement. Folks are shouting stats like 25 million people will lose their coverage by 2026, a year in which Trump will not be president, even if somehow he is reelected. So isn't it likely that this will change many times by then? Thanks for the show. My son and I both love listening. His favorite part is the pole dance, and I jumped on the Jury Patreon bandwagon after the Dragon Con shows. I was already a Diamond Club supporter. Well, thank you much, Tom, and son of Tom. Yeah. So number one, all those this is how much funding states will lose stats after 2026 was kind of a cheater stat, to be honest with you. Not to say that it wasn't true. It was that the block grants that were being pushed in the Graham-Cassidy bill were only until then, but they never said that these should expire at that point. It was just, this is only as far as we're going to feel comfortable enshrining this amount of entitlement spending. So it's like we will only have it run for 9 years. Within 9 years, we might be able to codify how much of this will go there permanently. But I think you're right. That yeah, as long as... Well, the argument would be, from a historical perspective, that Obamacare might already just be here to stay. If they couldn't pull it out after getting all three houses of Congress, then it's just over. Now people have gotten used to the entitlements, and entitlements that the people get used to are very rarely changed. It takes for them to be catastrophic for them to change. And if right now, there's a reason why the Democrats are trying to push for a bipartisan Obamacare fix, because Obamacare right now is broken and it is raising premiums for everybody. So now they need to figure out a way to fix it. The way to fix it will be more money, and it will stay there. The baseline of it will stay there forever, unless it becomes so onerous on the people that it gets bipartisan support to change it. Now, the other thing, this ADHD Life points out that I'm pretty sure universal health care will happen in my lifetime. The only question is if it will happen in my mom's lifetime. This will be the next battleground. And the way that Obamacare will stay around forever is because the next battle will be universal health care, which, Republicans fought as hard as they fought against Obamacare because it was, as they believed, the Silver Surfer to the Galactus of universal health care. that will be a nuclear fight. That will be a scorched earth. Because you will get zero support from any Republican on universal health care. That simply will not happen. Meanwhile, we talk so much about the special election yesterday in Alabama that, it bears mentioning. Oh my God, bears mentioning that Roy Moore does have to run a general election race against Doug Jones, the Democratic candidate for Alabama's U.S. Senate seat. He jumped on Roy Moore's. Roy Moore had a bit of a proofreading problem on his bus. In fact, it was the Great America Alliance, a pro-Trump super PAC backing Judge Roy Moore, misspelled the URL for the website supporting Moore on the side of a bus, writing Alabama deserves more versus the correct. All right, so it was, where'd they screw up? Alabama. Oh, they misspelled deserves. They spelled deserves deserves, DERSERVES instead of DESERVES. So now if we go, we're going to do a little live. This is a segment I like to call Entering URLs. If we are going to go to Alabama deserves more right now, spelled correctly, rally for more. Look at that. There's going to be a rally. I'll tell you what, it's going to be on September 21st. That already passed. But it had Judge Roy Moore and Sarah Palin and Sebastian Gorka. Oh, man, look at that. That's a lot of information. But if you go to Alabama deserves more, Alabama deserves more. Oh, wait, hold on. According to this thing, all right, now we don't. Oh, jeez. All right, so here we go. If we, Alabama deserves more. Make sure we copy that. Let's paste it. See if it comes in. Oh, no, I guess he got this back. Initially, this story, if anybody can get this to work, then send it to me. Activating. This is a great pit. I know. This is a great pit. Me entering. The site was going to Doug Jones's campaign. All right. Deserves more. Okay, there we go. I was just misspelling the misspelling. If you go to Alabama deserves more, Doug Jones for Senate comes up, and so that's that. Okay, that was a bad bit, and I apologize to everybody both watching and listening. Jeremy follows up on one of our obsessions, and that is Kid Rock running for Senate. Kid Rock. By the way, remember that one poll that we showed that had Kid Rock leading Debbie Stabenow? Well, apparently that was not a good poll. That wound up getting criticized quite a bit for not being a reputable poll. A new poll has come out, MRG, which is a little bit more reputable, showing that Debbie Stabenow now leading by 18 points. The Ba with the Ba crooner. So of course we will keep up on our Kid Rock news. And of course DK writes, I just found that this soundtrack and the political torch songs seem perfectly for your PPP shows. When Pigs Fly is the name of the album. So let's go ahead and take a look. What is When Pigs Fly album? Apparently it is about all these politics things. But you want to know what? I can't find the thing. All right. This is why I need to be presetting all these things that people send in via email. Thank you. Go ahead and check it out. When Pigs Fly. He actually had. Here we go. Let's see. He had the album and the track listing. Let's go ahead. All right. It's When Pigs Fly, the original cast recording, musical cast recording by a bunch of other people. All right. I guess it's on Apple Music because it looks like he took a screen grab from Apple Music. But go ahead and check it out. When Pigs Fly. Apparently it has to do with politics. DK is going to give it to you. You can go ahead and email us, theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Again, theyoungamerican@gmail.com is where you can go ahead and get us, get at me, boy, and I will read your email right here on the show. Update on the Campaign Chaos Book Club. Man, that Hillary book, tough sledding, man. She reads it herself, and if you are somebody that doesn't love her voice, of which I would say I don't love her voice, man, whenever I stop listening to it and I go to re-listen to it, I find myself playing a podcast instead. I will get through it. For you, for all of you. I will get through it. But just so you know, this one is slow going. I might actually have to read this one, to be honest with you. All right, let's go ahead and get out of here. Again, theyoungamerican@gmail.com. Music has been provided by Valesco and Trop Killers, and you can follow me at Justin R. Young everywhere. You can download archive episodes of this show at bonerwars.com.
Politics.
Folks, until next time, remember that some shows talk about politics, others talk about politics, some talk about politics, but this is the only show that talks about all three. We will see you guys next week.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Oh.